The SVG Annotator is a premium template. With the SVG Annotator, you can group layers of SVGs and export with the IDs. I will quickly show you how to do that in a moment. You can access the IDs, which are in the SVGs in the template, and then you can configure the text and other HTML content that goes within the SVGs. So Helena, who works alongside me on support and content, she created this beautiful little example of our SVG annotator. And so I'll just quickly show you what you can do with the SVG annotator and then kind of go into depth on how this all works. So you can include text in the SVG annotator. So if I go over to the data tab, we have included the ID of text. So I think this would be easier actually if I just quickly show you this. So I'm going to get that image. Okay, so I'm going to inspect this. Will it work? Yes, perfect. Okay, so with SVGs, they're a bit different to PNGs and JPEGs and other image files like that. There's a really useful app called Figma, where you can trace over images and make them SVGs if you don't have an SVG. So for example, this was one we was working with Heathrow Airport, and I wanted this JPEG to become an SVG so I could use this template. And essentially all I did was draw little boxes over the terminals. And then I gave them little names by just double clicking them and giving them the names that are relevant. And then when you export them, you can click on this little button here. So I want to export it as an SVG. You want to include the ID attribute, and the ID attribute, so if I go back to Helena's wonderful example, this is those IDs. Some SVGs might already have the ID is perfect, so you might not even need to do that. But if there is an SVG that you don't really know the IDs of, you can just pull it into Figma, and it can usefully give you kind of the ID here, and you can change them to maybe help you a bit more. So these IDs are grouped to each of our little segments. And with these IDs, when we go back to our template, which is all the way here, those IDs are being pulled in here. So we have column bound that to the ID. So this knows, okay, that's the SVG ID, and so we know that the text one is. So we know that the text is the text ID. The inspector's just gone very funny now, so I'm just going to close it, you know what I mean. And then we can add a heading. So that heading is what appears when we have clicked on that ID. So we've clicked on that, and now it's pulling in our title, our subheading, and our content. With the content, so you might see like these little breaks, and so these are just, so I'll quickly explain. These are just breaks within HTML. And what these can do is just add a line break in between pieces of text. So for example, you can see here quite a large gap. That's basically all they do. But if you are quite familiar with HTML and CSS, you can edit it further in this part and kind of add headings and heading ones and stuff like that. You can do all that within the data tab. Once again, we've added our column binding. So heading 1, this is going to be our main heading, our title. The heading 2, that's kind of going to be our subtitle. And then the content we've included there. And so going back to the SVG, the things you can include within this template, you can include images. So similarly, you can include just an image into, so we've just uploaded the image and then given a link to that image. But once again, you can just link it to an image online. And we're just giving it some kind of width and height, just so we make sure it doesn't kind of overwhelm the page. You can also include charts that you have already created in Flourish, which is incredibly useful if you kind of want to have something that would then be able to bring in your existing visualizations. And to do that, you would just, so as I mentioned here with the exporting, so if I just quickly publish this, if I go to the iframe, I would just copy this link and include that into our content tab. it will then pull in that visualization. So that is exactly how that is being pulled in. It's by using that iframe from the export option that you get when you export a visualization. You can also include your content-based visualization. So Helena kindly included my best hikes, my top 10 best hikes on the cards template. So you can include your content that you create from all this information I'm giving you today. And you can also include stories, which I'm going to show you in a bit with the 3D model template, just because it really works well. And Flourish stories, you may have used them, you may have not. I'll just quickly go through them in a bit. But yeah, you can include stories as well. The options we have here, so to actually upload the SVG file, you will actually want to just click that little button. So similar to the photo slider, we've just uploaded our SVG file from our documents and given it an image width. So I could change this bit bigger so it appears bigger. And we also have this option to have a different mobile view. And so if I go on here, it will change the way that the mobile view is displayed. So with the mobile content mode, we can still make it interactive, so people would have to click on it, or we can just show it all so that people won't really need to interact with it as much. And the accordion, so that's just a view where if people click on it, it will drop down and they'll be able to see the content in that. This breakpoint is so that is the pixels. So once a device gets to this amount of pixels, it will go to the mobile view. So yeah, that's how that works. And the image on the mobile, you can put it as different. So if you have a different file, like a smaller SVG, you can include that there, or like an adapted one, and you can kind of do exactly what we did with the height here, with the image width. And just apply it for a mobile view. So I'm just going to keep it the same because it's already pretty much condensed it to a nice way. So the animation, this is what's making these little kind of highlight and flash. So we can turn them off if we want to, but then it doesn't make it quite as aware of people can click on them. So I'm just going to keep it on. You can use the advanced options as well, and there's a little link in there which can help you with more details. I don't really mess with this just because I quite like the animation that's already existing in Flourish, so I kind of just leave that unclicked. The text, so this text is what appears here. This is kind of like an introduction piece that you can do and enter there. And once again, you have your default heading, your default subheading, and another default subheading. And you can change the size of these, so this could technically be your text. So you can see that we've used the text here. You can also use code in these bits. So how we've added the breaks in here, you can then include pieces of code within this part as well. And the advanced as well. So once again, you can go a bit deeper into the CSS if you want to. So for example, Helena here is like with one of the text blocks, she's kind of given it a bit more of a padding and a margin on there. So you can do small things like that. And then similarly, we've got all the same settings that you have on each of those on all of our templates. So that's how you change the header and stuff on that one.